Well, hello there.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, hey,
Welcome
everybody.
back.
What's up? Hopefully, y'all are having a great week. I am Andrew Hochradel. Hi, if we haven't met. There's another guy over here that should introduce himself.
I am Nick Longo, back from a little vacation, but good to see everybody in chat and be here on Friday. We've got some good stuff today, man.
That's true. And if
Camp is back.
Yes, if you missed it, Nick was gone last week, but he was doing something very important. He was doing a choreographed dance. So I think you had it on your Instagram at some point. It was over there. So
I believe it's still there if you want to check it out.
Yes.
We did I was in my best friend's wedding party, and we did a really cool little dance number for his new bride. It was really cool. So
yes, it was a fun time. And hello, it's nice to see you all here. It always makes me so happy to see you tagging each other and saying hi to everybody. It feels like we have this awesome wind down community on Fridays, and that's what Office Hours is we're here to chill out, to wind down from the week, just have a good time, and hopefully learn something. So it's great to see you all here. Hi, everyone.
This
Nick,
has been great.
Before the show started, we were talking about how we open the show today, and we decided on candy. What's your go-to candy snack, like as you're eating? What's your favorite?
I said this the other day, and someone went exactly. They know exactly what I was talking about. Hopefully someone does this. I like old, stale jujubes.
Okay. Like, just, like, they have to be, like, the super...
When they crack.
Oh, my
They have
gosh,
to, like...
no.
Yes. Like, I don't care if I lose the teeth. Those are my favorite. And then second, it's a new one, and we just talked about it. It was the Scottish red licorice.
Yes.
Oh, my God. Like, nothing tastes better in the world. What about you, man?
I'll give you guys some ASMR. This is... these are mine. They are, yes, sour cherry balls. And they are just about the most delicious thing. Here, let's give you the beauty influencer. There we go. They are just the most delicious, like, little bit of a crunch to them, but they're just so rich and delicious.
Yeah.
They're my favorite. So they are currently on my desk. But
yeah.
Chat, what's your favorite candy? Let us
yours?
know. Put it in chat there. And if you want to discuss or fight about what the best candy is, you can do so right down here, bit.ly/OH Hangout. That's our Discord community. It's a great place to hang out. Let's hop over there and see what's going on. So in our Discord, there is a channel right here for Cabin Chat. Our friend Elizabeth, is Elizabeth here? She is, yes. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hey.
So usually Elizabeth's hanging out in Cabin Chat, but if y'all want to join into the Discord, you can join the Cabin Chat right here. You can talk and hang out with your friends. We may hop in there throughout the show and say hi. But go into the Cabin Chat. You can talk voice there, or you can hang out and say hi in chat. I think that's it for our communities. But let's stay in Discord for a little while. Nick, what happened last week in Discord? Discord got crazy over the last week between last show and now.
Yeah, I actually chimed in to see how the show went and everything, and then I looked at homework and I went, my gosh, everybody tried out Dimension and made incredible 3D type.
Yes.
Love it.
Y'all have been going crazy with the homework every week, but this week I specifically think you one-upped yourselves.
Yeah.
There's some awesome stuff.
What do you guys think?
Yeah.
I'd love to chime in. How was it? Like, was it a challenge? Was it fun? I find it to be like, it's a little intimidating at first because you're like, you think you're going to like just mess up, but there's nothing to mess up. It's just fun. And I think that's stuff you can't create anywhere else.
Yes.
That's why I like it.
Yep. And it very much is like, throw everything at the wall and see what happens. I love the gold type that's floating up here. Like, this is fantastic. I love
some pyramids.
Yes, the different rotations. And that was the thing that blew my mind from last week, is when we went through of being able to like individually rotate each letter. And a lot of people did that.
Yeah.
And it's just really cool. And this, my goodness, the lighting on this.
Oh, I love that one.
Chef's Kiss.
That one caught my eye. It looked like
Love
an
it.
ad right out of a magazine.
It
So
does.
cool.
It looks like an award for like a MTV Music Awards campaign or something.
Totally. It's very Academy Awards-ish too.
Yes.
Yes.
Fantastic
I
job.
very much agree.
And right here, Christelle, here's a summer camp typographic submission with our team, Laura and Girotima and myself. Y'all, that is a great point. We're working in teams this season. So if you don't have a buddy, go ahead, jump over into the Discord right there and just post in our summer camp channel right down here and say, hey, I need a buddy. Someone will bring you into their group and you can work alongside them. And wow, this looks amazing. The 3D is awesome. The typography up here is really, really fun. If y'all want a little history lesson, search Destigil, Destijl, and that's kind of the style that we were working on up here. It literally is German for the style, but Destigil if you want to check that out. And Golden Rose posting right now, working on some type.
There you go.
Yes.
Look at all this new stuff happening, man. This is
Y'all,
great.
man, this is we've so if you're new to Office Hours, this is season 3 or 4,
18.
Season 18, and this is my favorite one so far. I think y'all are like fully in Discord. You're doing the homework. You're engaging with us, and it makes Nick and I feel really, really good when we see that. But hopefully, y'all are learning. You're enjoying it as well, and hanging out with us here, and inviting your friends, because that's what it's all about: is growing our community. I went into the wrong channel. There we go. Sorry, Nick. And now I'm back. So it looks like some people are looking for buddies in Discord as well. So if you don't have one or you are looking for one, hop over to Discord. The conversation is happening right now to find a buddy to work alongside. All right, Nick, I think that this week we have something very special that I'm very excited about that I use all of the time. What are we talking about this week?
This week we are talking about Lightroom.
Yes.
And I love that you are pretty seasoned and a pro at it, and I'm very much the novice in it as well. And I'm going to be showing it to you from my perspective of like learning it over the last few months, and particularly on iPad. But every time I get into this more and more, I've been realizing how much incredible control you have, but also too, and I think you told me this at the very beginning, to shoot your photos through it if it's on your iPhone, because you can actually shoot the raw photo, which you can't do otherwise on the camera apps, right?
Yep. Yeah. So we're going to be actually showing you 3 different Lightroom programs today. You thought we went fast last week and packed it in. It's going to be again this week. Nick is going to be handling some Lightroom Mobile, and then I'm going to be handling Lightroom Classic, which is on desktop, as well as Lightroom on desktop that syncs to mobile, and we'll show you that whole system. But yeah, Lightroom Mobile, like, it's the only thing I shoot with now because I can make things look really, really good. And it looks like I've taken my like professional DSLR, but I'm like, no, it's just my iPhone and the power of Lightroom. Adobe Sensei technology.
It's working.
All right. So Nick, let's talk a little bit about just in general how we use photography. Chat, let us know, when do you take photos? What do you do with your photos? I always make fun of parents that are like taking videos on vacations, because I'm like, you're never going to watch that again. But then I find myself like scrolling back through my photos and I'm like, oh, I'm going to look through my pictures from Australia. And I'm like, I'm doing it. When do you take photos when you're out and about, Nick?
Gosh, I think it's anything that's inspiring, and that could be, you know, the most surprising thing, not planned. It could be just being in a particular area and seeing something, but it has to just strike a chord with you somehow. Then you've got obviously out of town, special events, things like that. Those captured moments that you really want to make sure you have, you know, you've captured. I think that's kind of what kind of sets the tone for me.
Yep, and Nick is saying that I love taking pictures of candles in low light. Ooh, low light stuff is so much fun. And especially with Lightroom, you can really pull it and adjust those and really play around with the light. I love trying to capture like stories or like emotions. I resonate a lot with like street photographers, and so I love stuff that's kind of just like out and about, that captures a moment in time. But I also love shooting portraits. I love shooting people, and so I love being able to interact with a model or a friend and kind of capture their story in a shot. And yes, Gareth says I used to do portraiture. Well, we're going to do some portraiture today, which will be fun.
That's great.
So Nick,
I was also going to say too, I love it when people have directed. I love a good person that can take great photography as well when you are maybe in the picture. And I think there's that kind of, there's a pro on both sides of the camera when it comes to that, like what you can do, like what we're doing today, but then also someone who really knows how to get you to pose better in certain pictures and things like that.
Yes,
it's such a great art form.
Yes, we usually do a little bit of talk, and you guys know this, so we like lecture a little bit, but we really want to get hands-on today. But one thing that I want to touch on, Nick, that you just said is as the photographer and as a creative, it's so important to be able to coach your models into the shot that you want, right? And you think about design that you want to like sketch your logo concepts, sketch your shots. I know that sounds crazy, but literally sketch out what you want the shot to be. And then that way you can work with the model to kind of get exactly what you want. And I learned this in like the most interesting way. So I was working as an art director on a shoot with a photographer, and the model was hard of hearing, and so he couldn't hear what the instructions the photographer was giving. And so I was standing behind the photographer doing what the photographer was telling the model to do, and then he was copying me. And so it got me really in tune with like, oh man, you really need to coach the model and tell them exactly what you want so you can get the shot. And so you have to do that if you're going to photograph, be able to coach somebody.
Yeah, that's great. Even the random and the stuff that's like you're trying to have like the candid look, but you're obviously planning it. Those little nuances that someone can help you with are super cool.
Yep, absolutely. And we've got some more people. Pictures of family and friends and flowers. Love flower photos. Photos of cats. We love cats here on Office Hours.
Yeah.
Nick posted a couple in the summer camp channel. Go ahead. If you guys have photos that you've taken, go ahead and post them in the summer camp channel. We will be doing a little outdoor adventure this week for your homework so that you can take some photos and edit them in Lightroom. And with that, let's go ahead and hop into some hands-on stuff. We're going to start... Nick, do you want to start in mobile or do you want to start on desktop? Your choice.
I could start with a little bit. We can go back and forth a little bit and keep things moving.
Sound good to me. Perfect. So it is time to hop into our wilderness training. Flawless. All right.
So good.
Cool.
So good.
So we're going to go, Nick. So Nick, what are you working on? It looks a little different. The screen's got some like weird aspect ratios. What are we working on here?
Yeah, I just basically found a bunch of stuff to have here, which I wanted to see what we can have. We got one raw one there as well that you handed over, some other ones that I've collected. But I found two cool little things that just, even before you get started, just by pinching and kind of like releasing, you can change your thumbnail sign by just pinching thing and then expanding. So all I'm doing is expanding or pinching. So if you have a lot, this is a great little way to kind of do a quick one, run through everything, expand open, and you get everything right there. So one of the beauties of being on your touch screen and having the iPad here as well.
Yep. I love the physicality. I love the physicality of Adobe Creative Cloud stuff on iPad because I love being able to like touch and like tactily work on stuff.
Yes. Now, here's another cool thing that I did not know. Adobe put this into the program. And again, going to the iPad kind of control here, what you could do. I'm right-handed, and every time I get on here, I'm like, this is perfect. Everything looks great. But what if you are left-handed and you want to have a difference here? If you click on the three buttons at the top and you go into your settings here, you have a thing here called gesture shortcuts. And when you click on here, you actually have left-handed editing. So when you click here, and you go back, close this, go back to all photos, and now go back to an image, look what happens. All of the controls are on the left side.
That is so cool. I had no idea that feature
crazy?
Existed. That's fantastic.
So again, I go back here, it's in settings, gesture shortcuts, I'm gonna turn it off. You click out. The only cool thing, I like that they do this, and when you do this and you go back in here, it's switched over now.
That's awesome.
Really, really cool. So I just thought that was a really neat one to do. Some of the stuff we could talk about a little bit is like in white balance. There's a lot of cool auto features in white balance if you're looking at a shot and you just want to start messing around with it. So that's going to be in our color area. And basically you can see you've got everything here from your temperature, your tint, all these things that you can actually change and mess with. But if you want to see like where the best white balance is, there's a few ways you could do it. If you take this little color, you see this little eyedropper here and click it here.
Yep.
When you move this around, it's basically you want to find a neutral area, and then you can kind of move it around and it'll start giving you maybe the better kind of idea of where the white balance will be. And it's kind of neat because you can find the right one and mess around by just moving things around. And it's almost like these are presets to your image, and it's allowing you to find a better white balance where you feel like this might work best.
Yep.
So I'm going to go back to that area. I can
I was gonna say,
and I got a bigger shot. Yeah.
So when we're talking about like changing things like warmth and tint and vibrance, we have talked about this a few times, that it's all about like telling a story and conveying emotion, right? And so as you go through and start working with Lightroom, think about what each of those different things makes you feel, right? That if you change the temperature to hotter, then it makes it feel more summery. If you take it lower, it feels colder. If the vibrance is up, it feels more energetic. And so then that way, as you're looking at your photos, you can tell that story a little more fluently by understanding what each of those does.
Yeah, like look at just by putting temperature up, right? Maybe vibrance a little bit. I'm getting really early morning summer tone vibes, right?
Yes, and we've gone from like
lessen these,
Italy to Palm Springs.
Yeah, now I'm getting a little colder. I can bring that saturation down. Now it's feeling a little bit like, ooh, there's nothing. You get a vibe, like you said, from the temperature, the vibe, the light, how this is working, and how this is like, what kind of story it is. Where are you? What do you want the person to feel? Simple as that. The other cool thing was I didn't know that it did this as well. Now I'm just using my fingers on this. I'm not using my pencil, only because I cannot find it. And I wish it had the find me feature on there, because it is lost. I've turned over the entire house. I can't find it. But you can get really good, accurate things here. Now, when you click on these, and I'm just moving that temperature one, right? That's just me sliding it. But what's cool is if you tap on the actual bar, you'll see it goes in increments, which is kind of cool. So I'm going to do it, and there are different increments on each one because of just preferences that they have in there. But it's a very cool way to be able to control it by just tapping. And all I'm doing is tapping on that line, and it will move in those increments. If I double tap on that circle, it's going to reset it back to the 0. So again, it's not you having to try to like find it 100% where was the 0 and reset it back like that.
Yep. And I believe, can you try this, Nick? I believe that if you make a change and then you just hold your finger on the photo, it will show you the original. Yeah.
The original.
Exactly. So if you ever want to see the difference between your editings, you can do that. And I'll show you on Lightroom Classic how you can put them side by side.
Yeah.
But it's really nice to be able to see as you're changing things, what you've changed, what was kind of before and what was after, and if it tells the right story for you.
Yeah, and they're all kept in there, which is great. So now I've brought it back to pretty much the original here, which is kind of cool. So the other thing I want to do is adjusting the whites and the blacks. Now that's going to be in your light area here as well. And you've got them here, but there's a cool thing you can do in the light area you can mess around here, and obviously you can play around with your contrast and everything else. But when you have it on these shadow ones, on the whites here, I'm just going to press, and now I'm moving that around, right? You can see the difference. But if I put the other finger on the actual photo, now slide it, what it's going to do is it's going to start to show me where those lights start to creep in. Okay, so that's where the whites are. So I'm getting a little bit more control here by seeing what's going to actually affect. There I went probably a little bit too much, right? So I'm going to bring it back down again. And you could see the increments here, but by just tapping the photo with your other finger, see what happens? You get, just when you start to see it creep in, that's about where the best white balance will be.
And what are you doing to get that one more time?
So I'm pressing one finger on that actual circle to slide.
All right.
As I slide, you put the other finger on the actual photo, and I'll do it with the blacks as well. Watch. So now I'm just sliding the blacks. You can see how it moves, but I'm going to take the other finger and put it on the picture and hold and see what it's doing. So I get these little highlights. I can start seeing when the blacks do come. There they are. See them?
Oh yeah.
So that's about there. So now it's intensified some of the highest parts of the black without overexposing them and making them crazy. So it's just a real good, like, instead of just going by eye and looking at the photo, when you have that on there, it's giving you like almost this radar to tell you exactly when it should be. So you got your black set a little bit more, which is just a cool little way to kind of do it and more fine-tuned.
Yep, and
something
again,
I didn't know.
All on iPad. If you have your iPad, and it is the exact same setup on iPhone, and it's actually the exact same setup on desktop as well in the current version of Lightroom. I'll show you Classic, which is a little different, but if you get the understanding of that side panel, it's across the board all the same.
Yes. So the other thing we have is, so you have the HS
L.
HSL.
Got
That
it.
is basically your hue, saturation, luminosity, and all that kind of stuff. So that's all going to be in the color section. So when I scroll down here, you'll see you have a few things here. You have temperature, tint, and everything. But if you hit this mix button, the color mixing, so now you get these temperature here. You can see all these different things with the vibrance. So I'm going to move them around just a little bit and you can see how that works. But this little eyedropper here, what that does is it actually brings it to particular areas where you want to strengthen them more. So I can go right to here and you can see what it's doing is it's kind of using that part of the image as kind of like the test in
Now
that
it looks
area.
you're in like the Swiss Alps.
Exactly. So we've changed the whole storyline a little bit there as well. So don't forget this little thing here with the target icon. You click here, color mix, and then this little guy here. Now watch this. This is really cool. So if I go here and I want to go to the cyan area, I can actually just the hue, saturation, and all that is only affecting the cyan in this picture as well. If I think there's not enough reds, we could do the same and kind of do that here. And you can see how it's kind of, there's not much reds in there, so it's really not doing anything.
And
greens will help probably highlight.
There's no right way to do this other than like going through and just grabbing each one of these and sliding it. Like I've never seen anyone else do that. It is always just back and forth. And so something like if you go into the like blues, it's going to pull the entirety pretty much of that sky. And so if you know there's a color you want to control, you can find it. And otherwise you can kind of just mess around with each one as you go.
Yeah. So the other thing I want to show you too is a little bit of this thing with selective. So let's go to this one maybe and see how this works. So this is this toolbar on the right. If you see, you've got the healing and everything else. I'm going to click on that one here, and that's kind of the selective area, which is kind of cool. So when you tap on the image, let's go back here. Here we go. And why did that not come through? Hold on for a second. Where is it? Selective.
And yes, Laura's asking, can we turn on the cursor? Nick is on iPad, but the way we have it set up, I now have my cursor on the screen, and so I will try to pretend as I'm clicking where Nick is tapping so that you guys can see where we're going. Because he is just tapping on iPad. So he's right here in the healing selective edits.
There we go.
Right down here.
So I'm in here, the selective edits. You get this little blue plus thing over here, which is kind of cool. Now, before I do that, I have a few of them on here that I want to delete. So if I click on that, let's get rid of these. You click on the ones that I've already put in there. So let's go back. Now it's clean. We have any selective stuff. I hit this little gradient thing, and what I could do is, let's say I want to darken the right top corner a little bit more because I can see like how that's kind of already got something in there. I'm just going to drag, and you can see what I'm doing is I get this little kind of like gradient overlay, okay? And while it's selected, I hit light, and see what I can do is I can actually almost like vignette that particular little corner, which is really cool. So if that's what I want to do on that selection, I can. So I'm going to go back to the plus. Now I'm going to go to the radial one, and I can do the same down here. I can bring like a radial effect here, and we can mess around. And with exposure, you can see what we can actually do. We can lighten that. Let's say I want to lighten that little particular area of water, or darken it completely as well. So you're getting again to like, where do you want the focus to be on? Should it be more on the pool in the front? Actually, if we want, we can even go and right here and do another one, do a plus, do the radial, and go right around that sun or that moon.
That's what I was going to say.
Same thing, and we can add highlights.
Yep, that's the way that I use the radial is to basically put in fake sunshine. And I'll show you once we get over to mine, like 100% I just put fake sunshine on things.
Yeah, I think this is really neat to mess around with because, again, too, it gives you that kind of thing where most of the times you want to grab a selection or an area itself and you just don't know if it's actually working too well or not. The last thing I just want to show you too is you can always go up here and create some of your presets. So if you've done a lot of work on one photo and you know it's coming up with another one, I just hit the 3 dots on the top and you have this create preset. And again, you can set the name, you can actually create groups. And within that group, it could be, let's say you're aging or vignetting something a lot. You call it, you can do multiple filters within that one particular area, which is really cool. So that's one cool little area there.
And if let's say, also, if you like those settings, you can click on those 3 dots and then go to copy settings. And then you're able to just paste them on whatever you want. So if you have a couple here and there and you don't want to do a preset, you can copy and paste the settings as well.
So, I mean, everything you think of, it's kind of there, which is kind of scary and really cool. The neat thing is the ultimate like undo of anything is kind of the reset. And let's say you've gone through maybe 10 minutes of editing and you're just like, I don't want this. I don't want to save anything. If you see here at the bottom, kind of towards the middle there, there's that arrow back. And if I click on that, basically I can reset just the adjustments. I can reset everything, the entire all, or what to import or what to open. So again, if I just go to all, it will go back to the original one without any of the things on there. And it's just the fastest way to do something like that as well. And I know I'm starting from the original. So when I click on the button and hold it, my before is exactly the same. There's nothing applied to this at all. So again, I'm still in that learning phase. I don't even take photography, but to me, it's great to just take the stuff off of your phone, put it in here and really try something different. I've been doing that mostly I think since we did the abroad back in the day and we were doing Lightroom. I was like, man, like I have it on the phone now. I have it on my iPad. I use it probably more than Photoshop on this kind of stuff because Photoshop is really more creation. It's not really adjustment in a lot of ways for photo. And that's what Lightroom's, I think, biggest strength is.
Yes. And so speaking to that, I want to talk a little bit about why you'd use Lightroom instead of Photoshop. So I like to say that Photoshop is for creating a new reality, whereas Lightroom is for augmenting an existing one, right? You're just changing something, right? Instead of replacing a sky, you're just changing the colors of it. And Nick says, I love that it's non-destructive. Yes, that is the best part about Lightroom, is that as you add things on, it's basically just stacking on top of the photo, and you can always go back to the original without messing it up, which Photoshop can get pretty destructive sometimes.
I think there's no fear with this in any way because it's just so light and it feels like you can't make a mistake. And if you do, you've got multiple ways to get around it.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's hop over, and I think that we'll come back over to you in a little while, Nick, but let's go ahead and hop over onto my screen, and I'm going to show y'all a little bit of Lightroom Classic. So this is an app. So we have Lightroom, right? Lightroom is across the board on desktop, mobile devices, iPad, all that fun stuff. I like to work in Lightroom Classic because it's what I'm accustomed to. But we're also going to show you how to use it in Lightroom, the new one as well. Multiple versions, right? There's no wrong way to do creativity. Just as long as you get it done. So we're over here. This is a photo that I took on a trip up to San Francisco, channeling my inner Lee Friedlander, I believe his name is. If y'all want to look him up, Lee Friedlander. He was a street photographer, and he would always try to capture himself in his street photography. And so this is a shop. A window that it's shooting the window reflection as well as into the shop. And Nick is asking what's the difference between them. Lightroom syncs across the board, works with Creative Cloud, goes between mobile and desktop. Lightroom Classic does not. Lightroom Classic stays local. So that's really the only difference.
Pretty much there.
And the user interface is completely different between the two, and we'll show you both. And so if you want these photos, I actually provided these photos for you. If you go to bit.ly/OH and then all lowercase photos. So bit.ly/OH photos. You can have all these photos and play around with them. And let's go ahead and get started here and kind of look over on the side. It's very similar to what Nick was working on, that all of our augmentations are over on the edge here. We have our temperature, our tint, exposure, contrast. And again, with each of these going in, we've captured this moment, but we want to kind of exaggerate this moment, right? And so I know that I want it to be warmer because it's outside. So we're going to take that temperature up. And then it feels a little bit dark and grimy right now. So I'm going to brighten it by using the exposure. Now, as I take this up, you can see that it's getting way overexposed, but I want to overall kind of make it exposed correctly. So there are parts that are too bright, but I want to overall kind of bring it up to that point. So from there, I'm going to take these highlights down, and you see that building that's white? If I pull these all the way down, we'll get that texture back in that building. So highlights are basically the bright parts. The whites are the most bright parts, and then the same on the shadows and the blacks, right? So the whites will only pull up the brightest parts, which I don't want. And then we'll pull these blacks up a little bit. Let's pull them down because I want to be in shadow. Let's pull these shadows down a little bit. We still want to capture this that's happening in there. And then I'm probably going to bring this contrast up just a little bit as well. So we've got some nice pop to this photo. All right. And yes, Wade is posting in Discord. Thanks, Wade, for dropping that link there. All right. So we have some of this photo going, and then we can add something called texture and clarity. And this is what I love in photos. It makes them look super, super crisp and clean. And here's the difference between the two. So texture. The texture is going to pick up smaller texture within the photo. So as I do texture, it's going to pick up all these little details here, right? So you can see that we got a lot of texture in that brickwork. Clarity improves the overall depth and sharpness. So as I pull up the clarity, you'll see that it brings up all of the things, not just the little details.
That's great.
All right, so for me, this is feeling a little bit orange. And we can look up here in our histogram, and the histogram shows you where things are heavy. So right now you can see our red is super, super heavy in the highlights, which is where that yellow is coming from. So what we're going to do, it's kind of orangish. What we're going to do is we're going to come down here, and we're going to go to that hue saturation that Nick was working on earlier. We're going to take this orange that you see here, and I'm just going to pull it down. We don't want that much orange. Actually, maybe we do. Let's pump it.
Maybe
so we're gonna pump that orange up, but I'm also gonna balance it by pumping up some of the blues that you can see here, and give it that nice super neon. You also can, if you're familiar with curves in Photoshop, you can use the curves here to kind of cross-process something. So our reds, it looks like are going super high when we get into the lighter parts. So we're just gonna bring those down a little bit, and then make it so that the reds are a little more balanced out. Let's do this way. There we're gonna go. Get that really. There we're gonna go. Get that really cross-processed look. And so from there we can also go to color grading, and this is one of the things that is integrated into all of the Lightrooms, but I love the interface that is here. Pump up the orange, yes. What I love to do here is this is basically going to take things that don't have color and add color to them. Nick, if you're thinking about a movie that has a color, this is such a broad question. What movie do you think of that has a color, and what color is it?
Oh my gosh.
I know. Is there a movie that like you think about that you're like, oh, this movie like is a color?
God, I would say like maybe Willy Wonka.
Okay.
And I'm thinking it's that purple that is just used so strongly in it.
Yes,
that would be my first choice.
Yep. So that's definitely a good example. I'm thinking of like The Matrix does it really well.
The green.
Yes, the green. And so there's this idea, and the reason that everything in The Matrix is tinted green in the movie is because there was an idea that they were in a computer, and so everything would have like this greenish hue.
Totally.
And what they did is they did color grading, and color grading basically takes the midtones, the highlights, and the shadows, and instead of being black or white or gray, it's going to pull them into a color. And yes, Bliss, right there. Ooh, Clockwork Orange. Great. Yeah, chat, let us know. If you can think of a movie that is color graded to a specific color, let us know what. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to color grade this. So the highlights here, I want those highlights to feel very warm so I can drag them into this yellow. So what it's doing is it's just grabbing the highlights and putting them, instead of being white, into a yellow. For the shadows, we're going to do a nice purple, kind of cross-process that. Ooh, actually, let's take it to green. Let's do full matrix. And the midtones, let's take over to, let's kind of drag around and see where we get. Yeah, let's do like a little purple there. You also can change the brightness of those to see if you can get it brighter, if you can get it darker. You can really play around with all of those different colors. And we've done a lot of work on this one. And so what you can do in Lightroom Classic is go right here underneath, and this is the way that you're viewing your photo, and it will show you the side-by-side of before and after. The cool thing is you can also click in, and then you can also drag around here, and it will keep updating to show you the before and after of this photo of the edits that you've done. So you can really see the difference that it's made. And you also can do top and bottom. You can do all kinds of different orientations to see the edits that you've made. Wow.
That's so cool.
Right? It's crazy.
Look at that.
And so
that's so cool.
Can you, Nick, one more time show us how you did the gradient augmentations kind of on yours?
Yeah, so I messed around a little bit with this one. So I think if I go back to Selective, you can see I've got it right there. So I'm going to take it and delete it. So all I did was I wanted that dark gradation coming in from the sky up above. So with the plus sign, I'm going to hit the gradation tool and I'm going to drag it just straight down like this. All I did was kind of like dragged straight down. And then with it selected, I'm going to hit light and I'm going to lower that exposure and get a really rich color there as well. I did the same thing down here below, which is kind of cool, but I'm going to show you the different. Here's the beginning, daytime, kind of maybe not the most sunny day. Here we switched almost to early morning, early evening, and we got this incredible dynamic kind of drama happening by darkening the water, darkening the sky. I even kind of did one on this. What's cool too with the selective, it's not just about light. So watch this. We'll go back to selective. I'll go here. Let's do radial. I want to make sure that concrete has all the texture in there as well. So I'm going to do the same thing. Highlight it with this kind of gradated oval. And now I'm going to go into effects and I can actually pump up that texture in there even more. So it's definitely getting all the graininess in there as well, which is kind of cool. I can look at when you even mess with the clarity a little bit, which is kind of cool.
Yep.
We can go in here. I can add more noise to it as well. Look at that. It's like coming alive as you move around it.
Yeah, it's
so cool.
You have to be very careful with doing like texture edits to local areas because it can start to look super unbalanced. But with something like concrete, that's a great idea to give it that extra crisp. I'll often do that with hair as well. If you want your hair to be really sharp, is take the texture up in the hair. All right. Also, someone is asking, this looks amazing. Where is that? That's Nick's house. That's Nick's backyard, actually.
Yeah. Please. That was in Cabo about 4 weeks ago.
Cabo. Yep. All right. So we're going to hop back over into Lightroom Classic because I want to show you a couple more things. And I'm going to kind of jump through a few photos here, kind of back and forth, just to show you different things. So the first thing I want to do, this is a photo shoot that I did for an album cover. We were in we're literally in the desert, like on sand dunes. And so what we did here is we went out into the desert and I was like, let's shoot it. And then after the fact, I know that I can color grade it, that I can add the temperature. So I can simply come over here and I can eyedropper this and find the most white, which I'm guessing is going to be somewhere over here. There we go. Because those clouds, in theory, in the world are white. And so when you're trying to white balance something, try to think of something that in the real world is white, right? Like these shoes. So I could probably color balance to these shoes as well, and it would be similar. So it's going to balance that out so the way, so it looks the way that it probably should. That's going to be a little too cool. Let's grab these clouds again. And then let's pull a little bit more of that warmth up. And then again, just with the exposures, kind of playing around with these different pieces and making sure that it's giving that story, it's giving the heat that I want it to, it's giving all of that. And what's missing...
That's the biggest difference, because I could see your previous and I could see the current at the same time, the little delay. So you definitely did that. You brought the heat. Now it feels like that's a hot, hot day.
Yes, exactly. Let's pump the texture up, and you'll see the texture in the mask here. As I pull this down, right, you lose a lot, and the texture gets the details, so it's going to pull a lot of that mask, but not a lot of the dunes. I also want the dunes to pull, so the dunes are going to be clarity, which is overall, and when we pump that up, you'll see that the dunes get a little bit more of that pump as we pull the clarity up. So now we've got a lot of cool stuff going on here, and the thing that you can do, and Nick had it there in his effects, but if you come down to the effects panel, you can add grain. I love to add a ton of grain to photos. It just gives it that nice kind of gritty look, right? Really like emotional and crazy. And then again, you can come up here, and if we wanted to, it feels like we wanted this to be straight, but it wasn't, is you can go up to the crop tool, and here you can auto adjust so that it will find the straightness, or you can just grab this angle and kind of drag, and it will auto crop that for you as you level it out. So I can see there that it's pretty level. And I'm going to hit done, and then it will crop that photo in for me so that it is level on my side, right? Really cool. So great. What I want to show you, we're going to skip over here to another San Francisco photo, and this is going to be a similar effect to what Nick was talking about. So this is very dark, and so we are going to white balance it to the sun. Let's white balance it to, what else is white here? Oh, there we go. This stop sign should be white. There we go. So it's a little bit closer. We probably want it to be a little bit warmer there. And then, as always, we are going to pull up exposure contrast. There are options to just auto, and it will pull everything for you. And from there, you can kind of augment and change. Is that in the Tenderloin? Yes. Actually, I believe this is in Mission. I believe this is in the mission, yeah. So what I'm going to do is what Nick did with the radial filter. And the radial filter here is how I like to do suns. So we're going to click and drag this out. And this is going to give us that nice filter that Nick was working with right here. It looks like, let's see here. We can adjust the temperature. It's going to do that.
Ooh, look at that.
Yes, there is a setting. So it is currently inverted. There we go. Got it. So I'm going to adjust it so that the exposure is up. And you can see there that I'm getting like a false sun. So if there's ever a sun flare in your photo, go ahead and put a nice radial over it. And you can really pump up the hit of what's happening with that sun and make it look like it's so bright, so shiny, so gorgeous. Pull these highlights up there and really get that sun ray so that even though it isn't quite authentic, it's close enough, right? So you can see the before and after here with this sun ray really gives it a huge push. And so let's say that, yes, instead of being in the mission, maybe we are in the Tenderloin, right? And the Tenderloin's a little more of like the rough area of San Francisco. And so maybe instead of being kind of warm, adventurous vacation, we want it to be a little more kind of like gritty. What we can do is simply change a couple things here. We can pull the temperature so it's less warm and it gets cooler, right? And then we can pull up some of this texture. We can pull up the clarity here. It looks like it's too bright, so we're really going to make this kind of dark. And then
You're
we're
turning
also
it from an alleyway you'd want to walk into and now not.
Exactly. And we're also going to do one more thing, and that is the effect, is we are going to add a vignette. And the vignette is just the darkness around the edges. So if I pull this down, it's going to really vignette that. And we can kind of feather it in or out. So let's really feather that. And it gives us this dark kind of gritty look. Right? Really crazy that you can do that just in the before and after, right? Wild.
And that was just 30 seconds of edits, and you've changed the entire story of that particular picture.
Yes, it's completely different, completely new story, and you can do that on pretty much anything. I want to cover one more thing real quick.
Go for it.
And that is portraiture. So this is also available in the Lightroom mobile, but it's a very cool tool that is basically just the spot removal tool, which is right here. So this is my friend, let's call him Bob. Actually, no, let's call him Jordan because that's his name because I want you guys to go follow him. He's a great artist. So I usually use fake names for people. His name's Jordan Ayat. If you want to grab a link, Wade, Instagram.com/AyotJordan, AYOTTE. Go follow Jordan, leave him a comment, let him know Office Hours loves him. He's an incredible artist. But what we're going to do here is I'm just going to auto all of this right here just so we can kind of get something going. All right, looks good enough. But when we zoom in here, sorry, Jordan, we're going to see that there's like a little cut that happened on his eye, right? And maybe he nicked himself or he was, trying to do something and he hit like a weird zone and there's some kind of blemish on his face. So what's great is here in Lightroom, we can use this tool, which is a spot removal tool. And we're just going to click right over that spot right there. And it will automatically find another spot to replace. When I hit done, you can see that it's automatically found and replaced that area to fix those little blemishes, right? And so if we want like this little discoloration that's happening here, you can grab the spot removal, just click, and there we go. It has fixed it over that way. So super easy way to liven up those portraits. And then I also want to show you one other thing. And Nick, I think you can show this on mobile as well. And that is the brush in adjustment brush. So we've used the gradients, we've used the radial. There's another one that you can brush in custom areas, right? So if you're not working with a circle, if it's just a custom area, you can use the brush right here. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to do his eyes a little bit. So I'm actually going to zoom, and I'm using the brackets on my keyboard to just shrink that down. And I'm going to click and drag, and you'll see that it's already changing right there. See how it changed? And that is setting right here. So we're going to go ahead and increase some of these. So you can really play around with these settings, and it's just making the adjustments to his eyes. So I'm going to increase the contrast. I'm going to give him some better highlights. And then we're also going to add some texture in here and some clarity, and that should give some nice color. And then we can also just bump up that saturation just a little bit to really make his eyes pop. So now we've got that awesome little pop. Thank you, Wade. Yes, that is the link. And we can right click and just duplicate. And then I can click and drag this over to his other eye. And there we go. Now we've got a nice little double on his eyes. and we can zoom out. You can see now we have that a little bit more of that life, and we have that little ring light in there. So you can use those adjustments to kind of make custom adjustments on the fly. And Nick, can you show us over on Lightroom on iPad? So if you make another localized adjustment, which I'll hover over over here. Let's try to maybe brush like a streak through the sky.
Okay, so you are, let's see, where are we showing it?
Let's go.
Right there.
Yep, right over into the local adjustments. There we go. And then you're going to click.
The healing brush?
Nope, right one below.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Sorry, and chat, if you're noticing that I'm looking everywhere, you're in different places. So chat, you're hanging out over here
19
today.
Screens.
And Nick's monitor is right in front of my studio light. So if I'm doing this, I'm trying to see the screen. And then go ahead and click on that plus button, right, Nick?
Yes, there we go.
And then from there, click on the little brush. So that brush,
Perfect.
now you can click and drag, and it will actually show, it should show in red where you're dragging. And so that area is going to be where the augmentation happens. And so now if you change the light, whatever you need, you can actually go in and it will do all of those augmentations. Now, if you want to make a new one, you can do the same thing, just plus and make a new one. And you can feather it. You can make the brush larger, smaller. And this is fantastic for doing edits on portraiture, for painting in just a different scene, of having little localized, right? That it's like, oh, maybe we want a little bit of mist here, right? We can soften that brush. We can make it kind of whatever you want. And it's so powerful when you're traveling to be able to highlight something.
Oh, that's a great idea, because let's say it didn't come through on the original shot and you wanted to get something in there to do that. That would be really, really cool.
Yes.
I love that idea. See, I was just messing with this one because I didn't think the original picture, when we shot this, I was like, you're never going to see all those mountain ranges. The lighting on it was just, I've never seen anything like that. And then I wanted to find that way to kind of show that these almost look like paper cutouts. You know, it's just so kind of killer. Really neat.
That's wild.
Love this.
All right, let's go ahead. I'm going to hop over into Lightroom on desktop. So this is not Lightroom Classic, right? Again, 3 programs today. We're going crazy. So this is just regular old Lightroom. Well, by regular old, I mean this is the new Lightroom, and this syncs across the board. So these photos are actually from my phone, and like I said, you can get really professional looking photos. This is one of my best friend's kids at Disney World, here with the stormtroopers, right? And it looks like this is shot, right? Professional shot.
So great.
No, this is literally me with my iPhone just standing around. And what's great is we can actually click over here and we can show the original, right? And look at that original. So we've done a lot of the adjustments that we had is that we've added a lot of local adjustments, which I'm going to show you right over here. And all of the different tools that Nick's been using, you can see that the user interface is the same. And is Lightroom Classic going to get phased out? I don't think so. I think enough people use it that it's going to stay. They're the same tools in both, but it's just different UI. So you can see here the augmentations that I've made, the classic giant swoosh for the sun to really make it pop. And then I wanted to bring attention to the stormtrooper to give him a little bit more pop. And so let's go ahead and see another one that I've taken. Let's see here on mobile. Let's scroll over to the end. All right, so here is a good one that I want to show you. I'm trying to find something that I have a lot of edits on. And there's one of my nephew. Where did you go? I had it set up. Oh, I put it in a stack. I put it in a stack and it's right here in the stack. All right, let's see if I can get in here. Ungroup stack. There we go. Ungroup. And there we go. Here it is. So this is the photo that I wanted to show you. So this is a photo that I took of my nephew. We were on our way to Niagara Falls. So this is on my phone, Niagara Falls. And pro tip, we talked about coaching your models. If you want to get an authentic reaction out of somebody, ask them a question with your camera ready. So instead of being like, hey, like, let me take a photo, be ready, set up with your shot, all the framing you want, and then be like, hey, George. And they'll turn around like you have something to say, and then you catch that like authentic reaction. And so this is the photo that we took of him. And let me show you the original here. So that's the original. So not a great photo. It's kind of just like, okay, cool. This is a, typical vacation photo. But then we've gone in, we have adjusted it. We've done a little bit of cropping to crop it in. And then there are a bunch of adjustments happening just on his face, as well as some overall in the center to really draw that attention. And let's say that I want kind of the sky here to be a little more contrast. Super easy, again, to come in here to add another localized adjustment. By just coming in here and let me, where's the button? Let me brush it in here. So let's see, I want to brush in a little more of this, of just the sky. All right, so we've got the sky right here, and we're gonna grab the exposure down to get a little bit more contrast up and then really cool down that sky. Pull those highlights, shadows, and then let's give it some clarity and texture to get those clouds. So now we've got another little layer. And the cool thing is with these, you can actually click and drag them around. So that brush stays as a whole. So you can click and drag it to exactly where you want it to be and kind of make those kind of little adjustments there. So this actually syncs across the board. It's on my phone, onto Lightroom. So if you're using Lightroom on your phone or your iPad, it will sync automatically to any other device as well as Lightroom on desktop. And if I wanted to, I could select some of these photos and then send them over to Nick, right? So here's a couple of photos. I just clicked them to select them, and I'm going to right click and then go to, I'm going to go to File. Where are you? Edit, there it is. And Albums and Create Album. So these are just going to be Nick's pics. I'm going to hit create. And from there, now I have an album. And I want to go ahead and share that album. So I'm going to go to right over here, click on my album of Nick's pics. And it will have just those 4 photos. I can go up here to share, and I can share to edit. I can get a link, and I can share this with Nick so that he can see all 4 of these photos. So super easy way to pull everything together and then be able to share it. And this is actually how I want you, chat, to do your homework this week. Nick, what are we going to have them do this? Oh, Nick's video got a little wonky. Let's see if we can. I know.
Did it go back?
It went back to being weird.
Let's see.
There we go.
And
we'll fix it. Nick's going to live in the Matrix. There we go.
Hey,
yes.
There we go.
So, Nick, what is our homework going to be for this week?
Yeah, we want you guys to get out there and take some great photography of the outdoors, something really, really cool, and try it out on Lightroom, give it a try, do something really cool. But I think the coolest thing would be to do it with a team like we've been seeing, or with your buddy.
Yep, absolutely. And yes, Kevin says Lightroom Mobile also syncs with Lightroom Classic. It does. It's just a little bit more of a complicated setup to get through. So it does. If you want to look into it, you can do that. You can work in either of them. They all sync up. But just the Lightroom app between desktop and mobile and iPad is super, super seamless. So we want you to go out, have some fun, and take some photos and edit them in Lightroom. We'd suggest to do it on your phone. If you want to do it on desktop, that's fine, but go outside, like go on an adventure, go do something, and have fun with it. See what you can create.
Yeah, we've been seeing such cool stuff. We were talking earlier today about just seeing people getting out and about and doing things again, and it's so wonderful that's the cool thing, maybe even to find that picture of something, of people out and about doing something really great that you didn't see all last year.
Yep, exactly. And what I want you to do is you can just share your photo in Discord. We do have a channel over here that is just our homework channel. So you can drop it in there if you like. But what I'd really love to see is go through that process to share an album with us. Put some photos into Lightroom and then put them into an album and share that album with us using that link share. We'll give you a shareable link and you'll be able to do that. One more time, how you do that is you'll select your photos. You will go to File and, you will go to Edit, Albums, Create Album, and then you'll click up here on the share to get the link for that. So just make sure that you go back, watch the end of this when you're ready to share, and share that link of the album of the photos that you've taken. Nick,
let us see the before and after.
Yes, let us see the before and after. Ooh, that would be super fun. Right? We have 2 minutes, and we didn't do it last week, but let's go ahead and just do a Star Camper real quick, just to highlight one person. We'll look at more at your work next show, I promise. But let's go ahead and jump into our Star Camper.
Yay.
All right, our Star Camper this week, Nick, it is
A leaky chambers.
Yes.
Correct?
I believe that that's what it is. Yes. Ryu Orochi Design and Art as well. It is Ryorochi art.art.
Today,
man, it's a test. And so you can go check this out. Give a follow. Wade, if we can drop a link right here. Here, I'll drop it in chat. Go give a follow. And check out this incredible work. We promise that we will come back and actually highlight the work, but you are our star camper this week. Congratulations. If you're here in chat, thanks for joining us. And Nick, very, very special announcement with the last minute that we have of the show. What is happening next week? It is the most special week that we've had in a long time.
You have the week off.
That's right.
Camp is closed.
That's right. This guy is going to Hawaii. So we have no show next week. We are off next week. We are sending you home. So hang out. You have 2 weeks to take your photos. Go out, have some fun. Maybe 4th of July weekend. If you're in the U.S. and you're celebrating 4th of July, take some photos. We'd love to see some girl photos, some hanging out with family photos.
Fireworks.
Yes.
Ooh, those are always the toughest ones.
Ooh, firework photos.
Star Camper in 2 weeks has the best firework photos. I agree. And it's actually super easy to get firework photos with Lightroom because you can take really bad photos and then edit them to look amazing, right? So usually firework photos are overexposed or underexposed, and that doesn't matter with the magic of Lightroom because you can just go in and change the exposure. So yes, it's magic. So thanks for joining us today, everyone. I know that we covered like a million things. Today was, again, super overwhelming. We'll be coming back in a few weeks. Nick, what are we doing when we come back on July 16th? Do you know off the top of your head? I believe we are doing Field Day. That's going to be our our challenge. We're going to be doing it live with you.
Yes. So it is going to be a full-on design fest with all of us. So Nick and I will be designing something live here and just having some fun and hanging out. And then hopefully you guys will take the challenge as well and design along with us in Discord and post your work there. So it's going to be a fun time. We'll be asking for your suggestions, and you get to watch Nick and I just fumble over our creative process and hopefully make something really cool. So it was so cool to see you all. Go join the Discord, hop over there. We'll stop by and say hi in the voice chat in about 5 minutes. So go hang out over there. See you in Discord. And I'm on vacation. See you guys later.
Bye, guys.